this is Danielle Amstutz for discussion post 5. So the first notable nugget that I came away with is that trust is difficult. The clip we watched reminded me of my own childhood. When I was about 8, my mom started allowing me to wander the neighborhood without her. She bought me a watch and said to be home at a certain time, and I remember one time I didn't come home for hours after she told me to be home, and she was livid. The second nugget is that sometimes you are the caterpillar. It really struck me because no one wants to be rude to other people, but sometimes you just don't understand what other people are going through. I think it is important to take a step back and remember that we are all human and we all make mistakes. The last nugget is just the question, what are you? While I've never been asked that question as regarded to race, I have gotten the question, what is wrong with you? I am disabled, and every time I leave the house, I have to brace myself for the stairs. Whether I'm using my cane or my wheelchair, people will ask questions if I have to explain myself why I'm using my equipment. The 5 identities that I can think of are I'm a daughter, I'm a fiance, I'm a Montanan, I'm a pet owner, and a friend. I asked my fiance, and he came up with that I'm his fiance, TV buddy, vintage enthusiast, student, and foodie. The identity that I identify with most is that I'm disabled. It's most prevalent in my life, and it affects almost every aspect of my life. I'm very aware and reminded of it at all times. The identity that I think about the least is probably my sexual orientation. There are times when it becomes very prevalent, but I'm in a highly straight-passing relationship, and I don't tend to think about dating other people. I also seeing as my family is pretty accepting of the fact that I'm bi, it hasn't really affected my life in the same way being disabled has. The main identity that puts me in a dominant position is that I am white. Other than that, I'm in a submissive status. I'm female, I'm part of the LGBT plus community, I'm pagan, and I'm a young person, and I'm disabled. I think that the story that was my favorite was Kyle's of telling his new romance about his previous relationship. I think it resonated with me the most because when I started dating my fiance, I had to explain to him that I'm a survivor of domestic abuse. So I can relate with the hardship of having to tell your partner about things like that. I think trust is vital as an educator. Without trust, relationships between teachers and students can't be built. I think we can build trust in many ways as educators. I think being open and honest about expectations and then trusting students when something comes up and they can't meet that expectation. I think there are many kinds of trust as there are relationships. The trust that I have with my fiance is going to look and feel very different than the trust I have with my dad or will have with my future children. Looking back at the story I wrote in the first paragraph, I lost trust with my mom that day, and I had to work very hard to get it back. I was able to fix it by slowly showing my mom I would never make that same mistake again. Feelings of betrayal can be very hard to overcome, but I think setting boundaries is the first step.